Welcome back to Movie Recap Zone. Today I'm going to explain a horror, fantasy movie from 2012, titled Piranha 3DD, which continues the events at Lake Victoria during the previous spring break. It shows the hedonistic party that was unfolding, with bikini-clad young holidaymakers dancing drunkenly in the water, before a major piranha attack turned the lake blood red. Before we start, be aware, there are spoilers. We are then shown the lake today, with its cafes abandoned and its shores scattered with derelict boats. Next, we witness two farmers wading through shallow, murky waters at night, using a flashlight to find their way. They are attempting to recover the body of one of their livestock, floating on the surface of the water. As they pull the carcass closer, using a hook, they sense movement within it. Then what appears to be a fish egg pops out. Using a lighter to get a better view, one of the men sparks an explosion. Suddenly the two of them are set upon by swarms of piranhas. Before they succumb, one of them briefly emerges from the water to bite the head of a fish, before he's dragged back under. Cutting to a television commercial shoot, a water park owner, Chet, is promoting his reinvented holiday attraction. It seems he has recruited strippers to work as lifeguards, and his stepdaughter, the joint owner Maddie, is not amused. She explores the park to find semi and entirely naked women within the pools, a condom machine at the side of one and a camera hooked up to a large flat-screen TV displaying the bodies of the patrons as they exit the water. Later that night, Maddie and her friends are partying at the pool, with fireworks and alcohol to fuel their fun. Also on the scene is Kyle, a local law enforcement officer and Maddie's ex. It seems they broke up due to the difficulties of a long-distance relationship. Now Maddie is back for the holiday. Kyle seems keen to rekindle their affair. Two of the friends, Shelby and Josh, head out to the lake for some privacy. They both decide to go skinny dipping, with Shelby plunging in first. However, as the couple begin to make out, a fish swims up to and inside Shelby. Believing this is Josh attempting to touch her private parts, she becomes uncomfortable with the scenario and the two of them exit the water. Ashley and Travis have also left the party and are getting frisky in the back of a yellow van. She then playfully handcuffs her would-be partner to a rail in the van. However, at this point, the vehicle rolls forward and into the lake. With the water rising quickly, Ashley exits it through a window and begins to call for help. Josh, meanwhile, is set upon by the piranhas and cries out in pain. Having been eaten free of the handcuffs, the last Ashley sees of him is the stump of his arm, which breaks through the rear window of the van in a last-ditch effort to escape. With the van sinking rapidly, Ashley continues to scream for assistance, but to no avail. The next day at the water park, Maddie is concerned that Travis and Ashley have failed to show up. The others, however, continue to clean the poolside area and pick up trash. Barry does so particularly inventively, throwing an Aquaman-esque staff to trap a piece of flying litter. Suddenly Shelby begins to feel nauseous. She then vomits, much to the amusement of another of their co-workers, Big Dave. Back at the lake, the sheriff's department is recovering the yellow van from the water. Once on the shore, the door is opened, with the handcuffs still dangling from the rail. But there's no sign of its owners. Kyle heads over to inform the others, with Shelby becoming increasingly concerned at the lack of contact from her friend Ashley. Heading to the lake, Shelby sits at the end of a pier, dragging her feet in and out of the water. She is joined here by Maddie, who attempts to reassure her. The piranhas sense their presence and begin to move aggressively towards them, smashing planks from the pier as they do so. This causes Shelby to fall in, but she is helped out by her friend. As the pier begins to break in two, Shelby uses her hands to paddle back on her hands and knees. With the help of Maddie, she is able to jump the gap and make it safely to the land. The relief of the young ladies is brief, however, as a piranha spring from the water in their direction. Luckily Maddie catches it in midair and the two of them batter it into submission with rocks. Hearing the disturbance, Barry runs up to join them. He recognizes the fish to be a piranha. Next, with Kyle at the wheel and Barry in the backseat, the guys escort Maddie to meet marine biologist Carl Goodman. Since his key role in recognizing and studying the piranhas at Lake Victoria, he has become a YouTube sensation and is initially reluctant to admit the three young friends. However, when learning of their story, he excitedly lets them in and tells them about his research. We learn that the piranhas can not only force their way through steel, but are also attracted to sulfur dioxide. He believes, as a result, they could be drawn to chlorinated water. Finally, he speculates that they may one day evolve the ability to walk. Later that night, Shelby still isn't feeling well and has a pain in her stomach. She begs Josh to sleep with her. At the same time, over at the lake, Maddie is determined to check the filter for her water park, to ensure it is secure and that the piranhas won't be able to swim in through it. She asks Barry to spot her, but he reveals that he can't actually swim. She dives down alone to find the metal grill intact. However, on her way back she is bitten by a fish. Hearing this, Kyle runs in to rescue her. Panting, relieved and collapsed on the shoreline, we see a spark of their former romance return. Out in the street, Kyle has caught Chet speeding. As he sits in his car, the water park owner hands the cop an envelope full of money, which he accepts and checks. It seems that Kyle is turning a blind eye to Chet's legal transgressions. Nevertheless, before departing he hands him a ticket for speeding anyway. Cutting to a hotel room overlooking the water park, we find Baywatch's David Hasselhoff playing around with a keyboard. He is attempting to compose a cheeky love song for a lady watching on. However, he gets her name wrong. He has been using the name of the woman lying next to her. He grabs a drink and attempts to join them. At the water park, hundreds of people are queuing to get in. Among them is Deputy Fallon, who had his legs eaten away during the events at Victoria Lake. He is wheeled in by a young guy in a sun hat. Fallon is trying to reacquaint himself with water, but is unable to overcome his fears. Eventually, after much toing and froing, he tosses his assistant into the pool instead. Up on a big stage, the Hoff is introduced to the crowd. He breaks out from behind a paper barrier, clad in his Baywatch attire and clutching a redraft, to the soundtrack of its famous theme tune. The crowd scream. He is then mobbed by many of the female customers, desperate to get selfies with him. Behind the water park and away from the public eye, Maddie is busy inspecting the setup, when she is joined by Chet. She expresses her fears of the piranhas, but he is dismissive. It seems he has located a water supply by digging down into hidden, ancient lake. He has also spent $100,000 getting set up for this big holiday and is desperate to earn this back. Returning to the pool, the piranhas begin to emerge. The first evidence of this is when a young ginger boy named David is bitten. His mother doesn't believe him and sends him away to get a band-aid from a lifeguard. He heads right over to David Hasselhoff, who he doesn't recognize as a celebrity, but is given an autograph instead. The Hoff attempts to help him, but the younger David heads off on his hunt. Next, Maddie gets wind of the fact that there may be piranhas in the pool and starts to panic. She instructs everyone to leave the pool, but is removed by Kyle, who is clearly in the pay of Chet. Within minutes, however, chaos ensues as a swarm of the fish begin to mount an attack on the partiers, with Big Dave being bitten on the butt. Enter Deputy Fallon. The hero of Lake Victoria enters the water to help once again, this time on titanium legs. As the fish unsuccessfully attempts to bring him down, he raises his left artificial appendage to reveal a gun. He uses this to begin shooting the fish, as his assistant helps him to remain upright. It is then the Hoff's turn to play hero. Recognizing that he has made a living pretending to be a lifeguard, he decides to make a real-life rescue. With young David screaming in the pool, the Baywatch star runs in his direction with his flotation device in hand. He stops briefly, out of breath, acknowledging his age, before scooping up the young child and removing him from danger. Aware of the trouble he may be in, Chet decides to make a dash for it. He grabs a cash box from his office, stopping briefly to hand some of it to a child tending to her severely injured mother. He then drives off on a cart, but is distracted by the excitement around him. He drives straight into a cable, which decapitates him, followed by a fence. The impact sends his severed head flying through the air and into a pool. To try and get rid of the fish, Maddie has dispatched Barry to a back room to drain the pools. However, she continues trying to rescue customers in the water. Soon she is sucked down to the bottom of the pool, by the departing water. Kyle initially makes a half-hearted attempt to rescue her, but realizing the trouble he is in, quickly abandons this. Enter Barry. He returns to the pool and despite not being able to swim plunges in. Unable to help Maddie, he returns to the pool. Using the staff he'd previously thrown to collect the flying litter to stop a piranha in its tracks, seconds before it was about to bite Maddie. Then, using a rope and a weight, he descends to the bottom of the pool, where she is unconscious and drowning in order to collect her. He performs mouth-to-mouth resuscitation on her, to bring her back to consciousness. Fully revived, she kisses him and he reciprocates with passion. Kyle, clearly disappointed that he hasn't proven to be a hero, then jumps into the pool, noisily attempting to make a rescue or two. He scoops up a severely chewed-up corpse to demonstrate this. However, in the back room, Big Dave is busy pouring chlorine into the pipes, to which he adds a lit joint. The resulting explosion sends scores of fish and other abandoned objects hurtling into the air. These include Barry's staff, which descends at speed, skewering Kyle through his face. Both he and the fish are killed. In the final scene, Maddie receives a call from Carl Goodman. The fish, he claims, are already beginning to walk, as he had anticipated. As one emerges from the pool, young David approaches it to take a photo. The piranha leaps at him and takes his head clean off, much to the disdain of David Hasselhoff, who labels him a little ginger moron.